Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our two returning guests, James Ferguson and Pete Collins. We're here to break down Slices of Life, a world without pizza and everything in between. And that just sounds like a nightmare. Like, I was thinking this whole entire day, like, what would I do without pizza? That's like one of the staples of my life, right? Staples of my diet, I would say.
That's the scary part. Like everyone we tell about this, their minds run like, oh my god, what about this? What would you do? Like, and exactly. So that's what's been so fun talking to people about this book and making stories in this world, because it can run in a million different directions, and that's really how it all started with this stuff.
So before we dive too deep into the anthology, let's get the basics and catch up a little bit. James and Pete, what have you guys been up to? Pete, we'll start with you first. What have you been up to since the last time you've been on?
Well, Bardic Versus is now in shops. That actually happened last Wednesday. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a bit of a long road. We're working with Band of Bards. That's our publisher. They've been really easy to work with. Really great group over there. Matt Sumo and I have done a couple of anthologies, and by couple I mean, like, I don't know, it feels like 40, but I think it's only three. I think it's only 4 or 5. And we got a couple of Bardic Versus related things coming down the pipeline.
Okay, we'll have to get you back on and talk about those too. The Bardic Verse is awesome,
For sure.
James, what about you? What have you been up to, man?
So I just dropped off about like 50 packages today to the post office, fulfilling a real slobber knocker #1 Kickstarter campaign. So it was the receipt I got from the post office was as tall as I am, so that was really fun, of like dropping all. I mean, fortunately they were all pre-labeled, but it was just like boop boop boop, scan them all in there. So those are all going out to backers. I'm really excited to fulfill my first Kickstarter with that, so that's been like really great to see that come together. Dan drew the hell out of that book, Dan Buxa. Really like just packed with emotion with this, and Pete did an amazing cover for us as a variant that's an homage. It's a pro wrestling comic book, so he did this amazing homage. Like I reached out to Pete and asked him about this thing, and I said, well, I want to do a cover, and he's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know, like, this is the script, like, want to look at. And he came out with this amazing idea to do like an homage to old Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines, and it just like knocked my socks off. It was so good. So definitely have Pete on board for the variant cover artist for the rest of the series. You got 2 more issues coming up with that too. Actually, I have it right here. Literally,
Pete, that probably had to have been like amazing for you too.
Yeah.
Right? Like to get that as a commission.
Oh, so good.
You know what's crazy about that was, like, I was super happy to do it. I love the way it came out. It was a fun piece, but James sent out the digital copy to backers earlier this week, right?
Last week, yeah.
And I read it, and I was so happy to see everything that him and Dan put together in that, right? Because it's such a great story. It's got emotion. Dan absolutely kills it in that book. So it was a nice feeling to be part of something that felt special. And I'm not just saying that, it actually does feel special.
Didn't he do like wrestling promos for the Kickstarter? Yeah, dude, I remember those things were phenomenal.
That was so much. Yeah, he did Big Bucks. and even Matt Sumo, who's in our who's in Slices of Life as well, he did one for us too. It was like an NWO promo. So it was fun to get into, because the challenge we had, like, the book wasn't completed yet when we did the Kickstarter, but we launched around WrestleMania for that. So we felt like we gotta do something for that. Like, how can we promote this book? Like, I can't reach out to reviewers and ask them to review the book. It's not done yet. So we started doing promos online, and it was so much fun. Like, it's so ridiculous to cut a promo. Like, cut a promo for a comic
Please
book?
Let me do the second batch. Let me on.
Yeah. we should definitely have that. It's so good.
Oh my god, dude, that would be fantastic. So how did you two end up meeting? You guys have done work together before. Let's talk a little bit of the lore between you two.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows everybody in comics, right? I mean, like, we all kind of know that person. So James reached out to me for this cover. from, I think Matt recommended you, right?
Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
look, I saw your work with Matt on Bardic Versus. That was like my first. Well, that and how you designed like everyone's business cards, including myself.
I love mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, this guy's amazing. Like, look at this awesome work he's doing. And then I read Bardic Versus, and just like, I'm like, Pete's like 7 artists in one. Like, it's amazing to see like all the different styles that go through in that book. So like, completely knocked my socks off. So it was a matter then of like, all right, like. When Dan and I were talking about a variant cover for Slobberknocker, I'm like, well, who likes wrestling and who's an artist? Like, who can I go to? And then I threw it into a chat that I have with Matt and Phil and Mario, and I'm like, who else? And Matt was immediately like, talk to Pete. I'm like, all right, cool.
Hey, speaking of wrestling, you guys ever?
There, yeah.
You ever notice the little tables in the pizza that always looks like a table you can bust like a wrestling action figure through?
Yeah. Those are ones though that like, you ever see those videos of people trying to jump through tables online and like they don't
the patio ones? That's
what one of those tables look like. It's one of those ones that's like, oh yeah, that'll totally give, and then it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it like breaks their back. They just like.
Yeah.
No, that is awesome. And those business cards are phenomenal. I have one myself. Have you been able to do any other like cats or dogs in them, or?
No, I haven't. Did a baby in one like a couple weeks ago. Which, that was a thing.
Babies. So are you still doing the commissions? I seen a Twitter post that you were getting some work. So what we'll do is we'll update the description with a link to that. So
awesome.
If you maybe want to give a shout out to that or anything. No.
No, really? No.
Not a problem. So let's dive into the anthology, though. Let's get a slice, pull up a slice. So what's this anthology about? Where did the idea come from? A World Without Pizza where it's outlawed. I mean, that is such a crazy... I'm a pizza boy outside of interviewing, so like this is hitting me like straight at home.
Yeah, we were going right to the heart with this one. So that group chat I mentioned, like, we have this as kind of like an accountability group amongst the 4 of us, and we kind of, we pitch ideas to each other, we bounce stuff around. It's 4 writers just kind of like kicking the around with stuff. And one day Mario Candelaria threw this idea out of like, but what if pizza was banned? Like, what would that world be like? And everyone went in different directions with it. So it wasn't like a yes and, it was yes or. So everyone kind of went in different directions, and then we realized like, hey, we all have different stories, different ideas for this kind of thing. What if we did an anthology? And that's just like one of those things that gets thrown out there, and like it's like one of those crazy ideas. You're like, oh yeah, we'll do that. Like, just like, what if I rebuild a car or do something crazy? Like, yeah, that's maybe not going to happen. But comics is a thing you could totally do, and and it's when you get like moving on it pretty quickly, and that's what happened. Like, Mario got his story together called No Toppings for Old Men with Laura Helsby. Jenny Odio illustrated some of the pages for Matt's story, got that going. Phil and I took a little longer to find our artists, but then like once it clicked, it's like, no, we're doing this. Like, we're gonna make all this come together here. And then it lined up in that February 9th was National Pizza Day, and it was like, guys, the stars are aligning here. Like, let's get this thing done. Let's put this out there in the world. And we started talking in like the end of last year of like really like putting pen to paper. How much do we need from a budget? What else do we really need to do? How many pages need to be finished? That kind of stuff. And launched the Kickstarter in February, and we hit our funding goal, and we're trying to march towards some stretch goals now too. So it's pretty exciting to see all this come together.
No Topping for Old Men. I love that. That is like a perfect title.
Amazing. Yeah, we got pretty good pun kind of stuff in there. I mean, mine's called Personal Pan, but that's for different reasons for that kind of stuff. But like, the sky's the limit with the pizza fun. Do with this.
You guys remember
we're doing this because we need the dough, just to be clear. Like, that's another one.
You guys remember the early 90s with Pizza Hut? You read a book and got some stars, and you got a little personal pan, like oh man, that's a perfect. Is that where your inspiration came from, or where did you come up with the inspiration for the title?
So mine is a story that I wanted to write something about parenthood. And it's funny because like the original story I had was like really dark. It was not about parenthood at all. I was like just kind of forcing something, and it didn't click. I wasn't happy with it at all. And then I pivoted, and I wanted to do something about parenthood and being, raising a kid and what that's like. And so my story is about a father who's making his late wife's pizza recipe for his estranged son. And so it felt like, it's a personal pants. Like it is literally a personalized pizza he's making for his kid. And he's going through all these crazy stories. So like he has to go through all this crazy stuff. Like he deals with a mob and a gang called the Brick Oven Boys. And it's amazingly illustrated by Darren Vogt. He just brings such like an energy to this story. And it's just like filled with heart. That's what, like, I'm so proud of this story because of like how it came out. Like, yes, I think I say something about parenthood and like the lengths that parents will go through for their kids. And I get like, a little teary eyed at the end of this story every time I see those final panels in it. But it's like, I'm proud of this. I'm really happy with this.
Sounds like a deep dish of a story, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Nice.
So Pete, when you first heard about this and they were asking you to come do a cover, what was your initial thought? Like, we'll pull up the cover soon. I mean, you guys are only seeing a little glimpse of it on the screen, but this thing is gorgeous.
Thanks. When James reached out to me, he had an idea, and it was intriguing, right? Doing an homage to the Uncanny X-Men Days of Future Past cover. I'd never done that before. So to me, that was intriguing, right out the gate. And when I signed on, James gave me the link to the shared folder and all of that, and kind of poking around a little bit just to see what was in there. There were some glimpses of art. There was some stories or script pieces in there, and just trying to get like a good understanding of what the book was about and who was contributing what. It was a really good. That kind of fueled me creatively, right? James had the idea of putting all of these different mascots on there, right? Like off the top of your head, as he said before, I think in a couple of different.
But it happens sometimes, like when I'm recording stuff and I'm like switching through a different scene. Sorry about that again, guys.
No problem.
It's all good.
All right, so we will start again in 3, 2, 1. So Pete, you were talking about this cover and now we have a visual. I mean, it's such a gorgeous cover that my OBS could not handle it and had to shut down. So we had to reboot it. And now we get to see this thing in all of its glory. I mean, holy crap. So give us a little bit about some of these mascots. These are all pizza related?
Yeah. You got the Noid and Chuck E. Cheese and, pretty much anything related to pizza. I squeezed a Ninja Turtle in there for fun. I figured like how many opportunities am I going to have to put a Ninja Turtle on something that's going to see print, right? So yeah, but for me, I think the most fun part was the two characters in the front, right? Like the pizza chef protecting the delivery boy and trying to get the emotion on their faces. Like that pizza boy seems absolutely terrified. And that was really fun to draw.
I love the little pizza cutter in the top, like the silhouette of it. Is there any special meaning behind the slice and the frozen?
No, not really. It's just there for visual nuance.
No, it looks awesome though. It looks awesome. This is a gorgeous cover. James, what was your initial thoughts when you seen it?
I mean, jaw hitting the floor. Like it's just completely exceeds expectations. It's like you have, we talked about this idea and we're like, this is a thing we want to do, but like to see, like Pete works really quickly, and what's amazing is like we kind of pitched this idea to him, and then within a couple of days, it seems he came back with like a sketch of it, and already like you could see like the pieces coming together in the sketch. It's like, oh my god, like this is it. This is all like here, and then like seeing the finish, and then you get these updates like pretty again. The whole thing probably came together in like 2 or 3 days, I feel, and then like to get the finished product, it's just like holy shit, like I can't, like this just jaw hitting the floor, like complete, like this is it. We didn't even talk about things like variant covers for this. It was like, no, there's no reason to do anything else because like this is it. Like look at this sheer perfection for this thing. So that was it. We're just completely knocked out. But
no, this is awesome, and I do love the emotion on these two's face. So first and foremost, congratulations, guys, on funding 4,717 of a $4,500 goal. 152 backers and 5 days to go. Not only that, but project we love as well. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, we got that really early on, so really proud of that too. So, and Pete's not done either. So like we're marching towards our first stretch goal at $5,000. The book, Pete as like, because he's the gift that keeps on giving here, designed this amazing image that we've been using with some promotional material. That's an homage to the death of Superman, but it's pizza. So you can see that there in the thumbnail there. Again, talking about like this, just hit me in a Twitter DM, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like dude, like out of nowhere, like where did that come from? Where you're like thinking about this?
I have a lot of meetings where I can get away with drawing at my day job, so I take full advantage of that. That's the one benefit of like all of my other coworkers working remote, is I can just flip my camera off and draw at my desk. So I do that.
That's the secret.
That's the secret to the sauce.
So what about this piece in particular, Death of Pizza? I mean, how did that populate for you?
I don't know, man. I think I was just messing around. That actually was like a warm-up drawing for me one day. I had some other things that I had to draw, a couple other commissions that I was working on, and I was just trying to stay loose. And I was like, I gotta scribble some stuff out of me, right? So I just went with a black background and just started scribbling red, and it just popped into my head. And I don't know, like 20 minutes later, that's what I had.
That's so cool. I love that. I wish I was good at art, because like that process right there just blows my mind. I'm like, dude, this is such a crazy piece. Like there has to be something complex that went into here. You're just like, nah, this is my warm up.
I'm sipping a coffee.
We are close to that 5,000 mark too, just a few hundred away. So this is going to be the poly bag. So an awesome little black bag that's going to have the comic included. Have another at 5,500 and then at 6,000 as well. So let's go ahead and check out some of these stories. We have no topping for old men. So James, give us the rundown on this while we look through some of these interiors.
Yeah. So this is a story penned by Mario Candelaria, illustrated by Laura Helsby. So this is really like a noir kind of crime thriller story. It opens up the book as well. So it's the first one that'll come out and really kind of sets the stage for what this world is capable of. So it's a fun story about a train conductor that finds a pizza that's been left by our delivery driver, who is featured in our interlude story that is going through these different connecting all of these stories together. So he finds this, and it's I love this image right here in the second panel on that second page. It this guy opens it up, and it's like the Pulp Fiction briefcase kind of thing, where it's like, oh my gosh, like he found a pizza. And definitely takes him into the underworld of this place where pizza has been outlawed.
I really love this panel too. It's black and white, but the way they were to have the illuminating effect with the flashlight is phenomenal with a black and white piece.
Yeah, and we will. This story will be colored as well by Joe Canola. I apologize, I'm probably butchering his name, but that's what's going on as well. So that'll be colored and lettered by Scott Ewan as well.
Oh, this is awesome. The title is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we have another one, Old Man Gino. Pete, do you want to take the wheel with this one?
No, I'm gonna let James do that.
Slide over to the passenger side.
I've only seen the art. I can't speak to that story.
So this one's Phil Budahorn, illustrated by Roberto Duque, who is so it's about like an underground pizza box folding competition that it's a bit of like a Karate Kid kind of vibe to it, and Roberto's artwork is really fun with this, and really like he puts in some really fun little like bits in that second page there. No pizza, no peace is some of the graffiti that's in the background there, like and then in that pizza with the skulls instead of the pepperoni, like little things like that you're seeing in the background for it that are going to bring that to life. And what's funny is that, so a bit of kind of like symmetry with all this kind of stuff, or synergy in that case is so Phil has this story, Old Man Gino. I have a character in my story named Papa Gino, and we kind of realized this in hindsight, and we said, well, let's connect this a little bit. So
that's cool.
You connect the dots, and that the Gino in my story becomes the Gino in his story. And we're able to link that up with that interlude that I mentioned that's illustrated by Dan Buxa as well.
I mean, and that's such a cool way of having like the breadcrumbs sprinkled throughout an anthology that I feel like a lot of them kind of aren't able to hit, you know, because they have separate teams. Everyone comes together to have that keys kind of intertwined is like a next level addition, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's what sets this apart as well. So it's not like the Crypt Keeper who's going to just introduce everything, and it's something that really weaves it together and makes it its own thing. And I think the best anthologies are ones that tend to be penned by like one person, right? Like that you could see like a whole story, something like Twisted Dark or Nightmare World, where these are books that are all they're intertwined because they came from one person. In this case, they came from all different people, but we're so closely knit with this group that it definitely feels together. So it's not like it's just all separate stories. Like this is a werewolf anthology, or this is a sci-fi anthology, and all the stories are all different. This feels like a world that it is all together. You can see, although the stories go in very different directions, it is very much set in the same world, and you can see how these characters could run into each other in this stuff. Shared universe.
I love that. We have Captain B-Dub over on YouTube saying, I love the coloring. Yeah, the coloring in this is phenomenal.
Yeah, Roberto's really good for that as well.
Just how colorful it is in this area too. Like, holy crap. And then we have Personal Pan, so take the wheel on it.
Yeah, so this is the story again. It's like the Warriors meets Jingle All the Way is how I've been describing it. As this guy is looking for the ingredients for this pizza recipe. His wife's passed away. He's losing touch with his son, and he's like, how can I reconnect with him? And Darren just knocked this out of the park with this. He illustrated it, he colored it, and he lettered it. So it's a really unique style for this, and he puts a lot of like fun details in this too. Like, I mean, there's like a little cobweb in this guy's cabinet as he's trying to like figure out what else to make, because he's clearly not a guy who's cooking very often with this stuff. So his wife was definitely more of the chef in the family there.
I also love like the letterception. You have lettering and then lettering within the artwork.
Yeah, and what was great, like Darren's he's also a graphic designer by trade, so he's very professional, very buttoned up, and like a matter of like, this is what you can expect, this is how the timeline works, this is how when we can make changes and where. So I knew what to expect in every step of the process, and like this was one of the gangs that our character bumps into is the Brick Oven Boys. They're a bunch of like former pizza delivery boys, and I love this panel right here as this guy picks up the pizza cutter there, and it's like looks so menacing with this guy in the shadows there.
Dude, pizza cutters suck too. They're very sharp.
Oh yeah, isn't that how David Arquette almost died in a wrestling match with
oh my god,
getting his throat cut open with one of those things. You don't mess around.
Yeah, the coloring in this is phenomenal too.
Yeah,
I love the Brick Oven Boys. That's such a clever name.
Yeah, and we have the other gang that comes into play a little later is called the Garlic Knots. It's more of like a mob boss kind of thing. That's where Papagino comes in. So it's just a fun story. As I said before, I'm really happy, really proud of how this is all coming together.
And then we have pieces as well. So this looks like another interesting story. If you could give us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So this one's penned by Matsumo, illustrated by Jenny Odio, and this is a really personal story for Matt. So it's one that he had gotten divorced, and he was living in Connecticut. He moved back to New York, and apparently there's no good pizza out in Connecticut. So it's a
lie. It's a fucking lie.
He took that personally.
Yeah, that's a lie.
That's what Matt's described it as. So okay, I can't speak from experience there.
Okay.
But I want to throw stones, Pete. But it's a story about coming home, and when all you want is like this one thing, and you can't get it, and because not and it's bad enough this poor guy's going through all this stuff, but to have this like home pizza taken away from him too, it's like something that could drive you over the edge with this kind of stuff.
I also love the plumbing conferences in the background, the added touch of detail there. So let's go ahead. We'll scroll through the creators and then check out some of these rewards as well. So Pete, there's some good places in Connecticut to eat, pizza wise?
Well, I understand that the majority of the creators here are New York based, and they have their opinions, and I won't argue much with that. But New Haven, it's got good pizza. I'll stand on that hill.
stand on business. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Whole huge team of creators. How hard is it to keep everyone in check for an anthology? Like, it seems like it'd be such a huge task to do. Is it stressful at all?
A little. It's more just that, like, you know, everyone here is pretty professional. They're, you know, while we're all in the indie scene, you know, everyone's made some comics before. They know what to expect, what goes into a Kickstarter campaign. So, you know, when gathering even the images, you know, we asked everybody, hey, can you send me a picture of you with pizza? And everyone was down for it. You know, it's like, it was just fun to do, of like, yeah, okay. Like, and some people just had them ready. Like, that was somebody like Darren and Jenny, like, they were like, got it. Don't worry. I know exactly the picture. And like within minutes, I had something in my inbox. I'm like, this is it. So it's just funny, like how, you know, this is something that is personal for people with this kind of stuff. They definitely had an image ready for it. But again, we're all professionals with this stuff. The stories are all in different stages of completion. My personal pan is 100% completed. No Toppings for Old Men is illustrated. It just needs to be colored and lettered. And then Pieces and Old Man Gino, it's mostly illustrated already. Just got to finish up the last few pages for that, and then just get those lettered. And then we have the interstitial story with Dan that he's already gone through the thumbnails, and he's penciling that right now too.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and put this link in chat. If you guys are able to back, we would love to see it, but simply putting this on Facebook and Twitter works just as well, and it costs you nothing to share this with your friends and family. So we have $3 for the topping list. Get your name in the thank you page formatted as a menu of pizza toppings. That is awesome and clever as well. I love it. Slice of Life digital edition at 15. So how many pages is this anthology looking to be?
We're looking to be probably about 64 to 70 pages altogether. So it depends on how much back matter we're going to put in there, but you know, we have to be divisible by 4, so that's going to be a big thing. But I think you know, we might end up with like a 2-page thank you page kind of thing, because what we also have, which, you know, not to, you know, spoil some of the things that are coming up ahead, but we have a name your pizza level of the thank you page. So yes, you can get included in the thank you page as one of the toppings, but you could also make your own pizza. So you could have the Cody in there, and it could be whatever you want on, and that'll be the pizza menu on the top. Like, you know, like if you had a sandwich named after you at a deli, whatever that is, that's limited, and then everyone else will be included as toppings down on the bottom.
I love that. That's a clever tier to have too. You don't see a lot of ingenuity like that.
Well, we wanted it to be something that was different than just like a big list, right? I think that's what you see a lot of, or just like a big list of names. And you know, one of my pet peeves is when you see that and it's not even in like alphabetical order, and it's like, all right, you didn't even sort it.
Absolutely hate that. Absolutely hate that.
Because then I'm like, all right, I know I backed this, but I can't find my name, and I'm not going to sit here and read through 300 names on this thing to find it. You know, it kind of defeats the purpose.
So $5 more, you have the physical copy. $20. I think that's an awesome price. You know, not too bad for everyone out there. We have the early bird. This is probably already done with, right?
Yeah, it's already done up. Yeah, we had a couple bucks off for the early bird for the physical and the digital copies.
So the name your pizza for $35. That's that special listing in the back.
That's already filled up. So yeah, we had 10 backers for that. That was a limited reward for that. So those folks are all keyed up, as well as the cameos in the 2 stories that are finishing up there with Pieces and with Old Man Gino. So those are folks that will get drawn into the comic itself, which is pretty
well,
cool.
Congratulations on that. That's awesome that you were able to sell out of those.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So guys, for anyone who might be on the fence about backing, what would you like to say to them to kind of help push them over that fence?
Think about the children, right? Like it's,
a slice a day, you could change their life.
Exactly. You know, this anthology has the vibes of a party, right? Like there's so many different people that are contributing in different ways. You know, it is a pizza party for comics in every way. There's fantastic art through and through, right? You know, Lauren kills it. Dan, I'm sure, is going to knock it out of the park. I love Jenny. She does fantastic work. You know, and I wasn't familiar with Darren or Roberto before this, but I'm going to keep my eye out for them in the future. They do great work. So there's a lot of talent here, and there's also some really cool add-ons. You know, Killcella, Fog Line, Bardic Versus, all options for add-ons. So there's a little bit more outside of the pizza too, which is cool.
Thinking outside the box, we love to see it.
Exactly. So, and at this point, it's already funded. What do you have to lose? It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to get made.
Yeah.
James, what about you?
I mean, this is the, to me, the epitome of like what you can do in comics, right? Like it's one, like theoretically you can make a movie with your friends, you could do other kind, you can make a video game with your friends, but like comics is this like pure thing that you could just do with a handful of people. You can have a crazy idea and just make it, and there's no barrier of entry with this stuff, right? It's something that we had this weird idea and we're running with it, and this book is funded. We have the this campaign we're 5 days away from the end of it, and it's already surpassed its goal. We have cool stuff planned for it, and frankly, like, I want to do more in this thing, because everyone I've talked to about this, like, what, again, they go in all these different directions. I've had people ask me, well, if you do another one, can I get in? Like, we could do more of this, because there's so much you can explore in this crazy world with it's such like a simple idea in the scheme of things of like pizza being banned. And that is like a nightmare scenario for so many people. Like, no, but I love pizza. I know, but like, it's gone, like, what do you do now? And I just, that to me just speaks to what you can do in comics, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
We need to see some like Pizza Boy like racing like police like story next.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it.
Anything's possible in this thing.
I'm seeing it. So, guys, you've been on the show before. You know the drill. We love finishing up with a piece of advice and what you guys are up to outside of creating. So we'll kind of do it in your respective fields. Pete, for anyone out there looking to sharpen their skills outside of like classes and everything, do you have any techniques or any rehearsals that you've been doing that have been kind of helping you?
Yeah, that's a big question. I'm a firm believer in practice, right? So I do my morning my morning drawing just to kind of get myself loose and ready to go, get the muscle memory firing up a little bit. Most of those pictures will never see the light of day. But it's I'm a firm believer that you got to practice your craft. So practice, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? Like, people evolve as artists. I know I have, and there is no such thing, in my opinion, as bad art, right? Like, you learn from what you draw, and you don't learn until you draw. So just keep plugging away, and you'll get to where you want to be at some point.
That's good. That needs to be a quote somewhere. Is that a quote somewhere? Like, that's good, man.
I don't know. I think I'm coming down from my caffeine right now. So
that's good. James, for you, anthologies seem like a big stepping stone, for some with creating and writing scripts. What would be your biggest piece of advice for anyone looking to submit to one?
It's I'll actually pass this advice on that Mario gave me, is that you got to get to the prestige. You have to get right to the oomph of the story. Because in a short story, it's you don't have a lot of time. You can't spend this time exploring all the world and do a slow build. Sometimes you only got like 4 pages, sometimes even less. You gotta get right to it. So don't waste time. Kill your darlings. Like, get right to the meat of that. Because then you can have that twist at the end, and it's all the fun part. So like that's kind of like I had a hard time at first getting into the shorts and getting into anthologies like that, but once I had to get to the prestige, get to the point of the story there, then it all clicked. I'm like, all right, got it. And then it flowed.
And you get to the fun part a lot quicker, right? I mean, that's a win-win.
And then the hard part then is expanding it when you do a longer story, and then all right, well, and then training yourself to do longer. But you got to start small and then build up to that stuff.
So outside of creating, what are you guys consuming? Video games, TV shows, books. Pete, what have you been up to?
I got Helldivers 2 the other day, and I'm afraid of it. It's too much for me. My son is kicking all sorts of ass with it, and I can't get to that level. So a lot of self-doubt right now in my house. No, I'm working on a couple of different commissions right now, and that's pretty much consuming most of my day-to-day. Trying to catch up on the backlog of reading too. I got a bit of a stack that's built up. So trying to catch up on that.
It's a never-ending battle, really.
It really is.
A lot out there.
James, what about you?
So I just got a PS5 last year to play Spider-Man 2, and now I feel like Steve Rogers in the MCU of like, oh, I'm making a list of all these things I missed. Like when my kids were born, like video games kind of fell out, so I haven't played much in the past few years. So I'm going back and kind of revisiting, and so I have a very large backlog now of new games that I picked up on the PS5 to go through and play. But like I finished Guardians of the Galaxy, and like I never played that. So it's new to me. So that was great. I did Control. I did, even just like simple ones that came with the PS5, like Astro's Playroom. I had a blast with that game. It was so much fun. But I've been enjoying getting back into video games, and really spending some time with that. Although now I have to fight my kids for it because they got into Fortnite, and now it's like that's all they want to do is play that. And I said, well, no, you can't play anymore because I'm going to use the PS5 and I'm going to play it now.
You can hire me to be like a little bounty hunter for you, and I'll grief them until they leave. But
awesome.
Guardians was awesome. The one thing I love the combat. I just wish you could switch between the characters. I loved how you could have the characters do attacks, but it would have been cool if you could just switch like to a different character perspective. Yeah. But the story was phenomenal. I thought
it was amazing. And like when you get into like the collectibles and stuff like that, when you get into like more of the uncovering more stuff with the characters, and they all have their own stories and backgrounds and stuff, it was really beautiful stuff. And I think that game it never outstayed its welcome. I think right when I was starting to get tired of it, the game ended. I was like, all right, this was a perfect like closer for it.
And it was perfect too. There was no DLC, no microtransactions, just one and done. You bought the full game. It was the full game, and see you later.
Yeah. But otherwise, I'm trying. I have a big comic reading backlog too, and reading backlog in general. But I've been revisiting or trying to get into all the Star Wars comics finally. So I'm like almost catching up to them. So I'm like almost to the current volumes of everything. So that's been a blast of finally getting into those. As well as like reading One Piece for the first time, which I got into because Darren, the artist on Personal Pan, is a huge manga fan, and One Piece is like his biggest like fandom, and he talks a lot about it, and I was like, this sounds so good, and I finally started reading it, and there's over 1,000 chapters on it, but I'm like 5 or 6 volumes in, and it is amazing. So really enjoying that so far.
I was about to say, good luck on that. Finishing that one will take forever.
I said that was a 2024 initiative. Like, early last year, I was like, I'm gonna wait on this one. I'm gonna next year, so 2024 hit, and I dove in through the Shonen Jump app, and it's been great.
All right, well, thank you too for swinging by and hanging out with us. Everyone watching, right there is the link to back this. It's already funded, so you have nothing to lose. Get in there, help make that stretch goal happen. That polybag is awesome. I mean, you can't ask for a better design there. So that being said, it's time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have a fantastic Monday. Most importantly though, guys, keep it geekly.